Okay, let's take stock of the global handover from last night. The US markets had a bit of a sobering evening, you might call it that. The Dow fell around 200 points and the futures also were pretty flat post. Now, there's a Fed meeting going on right now. That's the Federal Reserve, a very important meet, and it's been on for 2 days. It'll conclude today, at the end of which we will hear the extent to which stimulus will be resupplied to the US economy as well as the global economy. Let's remember the US stimulus trickles and finds its way into every other market. So it's really critical to see what that amounts to in the end, and it's got everyone on their toes. The Dow futures were flat, like I said, S&P futures were also flat, and the Nasdaq was trading with a mild gain of 0.2% on the futures front in anticipation of this announcement. Now, other forces that moved the market yesterday was a weak result from Starbucks, but then the guidance which followed that was pretty positive, and then you saw the shares rally 5%. Other big earnings candidates today are the likes of Boeing, General Motors, General Electric, Qualcomm, PayPal, all very large index heavyweights that do need to pull their own weight and produce a good result to keep these markets buoyant, especially given the rally that we've seen. So these are the two forces you're going to be grappling with this week: earnings, and then this big Fed announcement and what can really come out of there. Even oil and gold prices are going to hinge on this Fed announcement to a certain extent. Asian markets were also pretty mixed in trade, given that they're also figuring out what to do, whether more stimulus will come or not. The Kospi was fractionally higher in early trade, so that's in South Korea. In Australia, the S&P and ASX 200 was up a mild 0.23%. Japan was where the losses were really magnified. You saw the Nikkei slipping 0.6% and the Topix slipping 0.8%. So Nissan, the automaker here, saw its shares plummet around 6% after a forecasted 470 billion yen loss. So that wasn't too positive for them, and that's how the Asian markets are kind of shaping up this morning. And moving forward to Europe, Europe was fairly buoyant. The stock 600 was up 0.5% yesterday. Food and beverage stocks climbed 1.5%, while basic resources declined 0.6%. So they're also going to hinge on the US announcement to a fair degree. Now, coming down to commodities, oil prices actually fell. Cases have not been coming in control, and demand is not picking up the way they initially anticipated. So this is something that's going to keep the prices on the lower end. Brent crude futures fell 19 cents or 0.44% to $43.22 per barrel. WTI crude futures settled 56 cents higher or 1.35% at $41.04 per barrel. Gold continued to gain ahead of the Fed meeting. The Fed should provide more stimulus and that should fuel gold prices further. Spot gold was up 0.3% to $1,947 per ounce, and US gold futures were 0.93% up to $1,949 per ounce.